I just had 2.5 beers on Sunday night after we moved a ton of our stuff in, and I just felt poisoned the next morning, bro. Like I woke up and I was just like, oh my gosh. Like not even hungover, but just like,
oh yeah,
gross, warm, kind of feverish almost. And I'm just like, it's crazy how as soon as you stop having it nightly and even moderately nightly or whatever, it's like the whole body just reorganizes itself in like the way it processes that stuff.
It recognizes it as poison.
Yeah, because now like I'm just like, I did that and I was like, oh, I can't do that again, man. I gotta pace it out, like give it more time.
Feverishly and sweaty is the feeling I have
right now
at this very moment, because we're coming to you live. At the moment we're live. When you're listening to this, it might not be live. This might be 400 years in the future. But at the moment we're live from the Mick and Pat world headquarters in the underground, in the loft, sweating bees because it's summertime.
It is.
It's summertime, and Pat is not shelled out for an air conditioner.
That's all right, though. I don't expect it when I come here.
And I think
I just expect you to let me complain.
I think my makeshift airflow thing right now is not helping. Has it gotten hotter since I did that?
I don't know, bro. I don't know.
I'm like, in my head?
I'm just trying not to think about it. I'm just trying to chill.
Like Joe Rogan should be in the corner doing his hot yoga routine. Sweating with his crazy eyes in his little tight semi-European bathing suit.
Are you talking like the one that he wears that's like it's an upper torso and lower torso bathing suit?
Not like a 1920s bathing suit, but there's this one video of him getting in an ice bath. And it's so funny because, like, I mean, the dude, like, he's not really trying to, but, like, it's just full imprinting. And
his junk, his nutsos.
Yeah. And I guess the man's got, he's got the business.
Does he?
Like, the comment section from the females was out of hand. It was out of hand.
That's funny, bro. Don't say that. Our 5 female listeners are gonna go look up Joe Rogan.
I know.
Getting Joe Rogan
ice bathing.
Ice bathing, yeah.
And anyways, the man's he's not regulated. He has to regulate himself on the extremes. Ice bathing, hot yoga, trips with frog venom that make you have death experiences. But hey, he has been like the most sane voice in America for a long time in a lot of cases too. So I don't know what the deal is.
Okay, all right. Let's just be easy. The most sane voice?
I'd say the most, if you had like a...
Don't forget that it was like only a couple of years ago, Joe Rogan was like, we should get rid of all guns.
No, I know. But what I'm saying, I'd say the most listened, like influence, listened to influence, and that's pretty based. Like,
sure,
if you trended those together.
I mean, I think he's changed a lot over time, right?
He's definitely, it's funny now how he's like a 45-year-old man talking, not a 29-year-old man talking about like things. And your tune changes. It's funny how people say when you have kids, there's a good chance you might become a little more conservative.
Yeah.
Like things like that or whatever, it's like, or if you become like a business owner, you might become a little more conservative. Or,
you have all these different thoughts about the other side, whether it's liberal or conservative. And you're like I know for him, a big thing, he was like, Texas is full of a bunch of super far right crazies. And he moved to Texas and everyone was like, no one cares if you smoke a J, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
No one gives two shits. And he was like, okay, wait a second. And you can see he realized, he was like, okay, I'm actually way more conservative than I thought I was,
And I'd say too, it's not always a swing from the left to the right, but it is also in general like a more broadening of your view and or being less hardline. There's certain things you get more hardline about and other things you care less about. So it's like if it's just in general, it's just like you have less. There's certain things that you really do care about and you want to instill that in your kids, the people around you, your circle of influence. And then there's other things that you're like, it's not as big of a deal to me as like I used to die on this hill over. you kind of start shifting.
Well, welcome, kid, to the Mick and Pat show. I'm Mick,
And I'm Pat.
Yeah, and it's been a hot minute since we've been able to record. Our lives have been very, very busy, and it's just good to sit down and be able to get back to basics here with one another. We hope all of you have been doing good. Before we forget, we're just going to remind you that you can always reach out to us on the YouTube channel. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. Dislike. Do anything you want as long as it's interacting. We love to, just have an interaction with our fans and listeners out there. You can send us fan mail, by the way, now. And it's like fan email and all that stuff through our websites, and as well, the usual voicemail stuff. Check out our sponsors, Attorneys for Freedom Law Firm, Pod Page, all that stuff. Check out Audible, because Pat and I have been on a pretty big book grind lately. And I gotta say, man, East of Eden changed me. That had more of a profound impact on me than I think any other book I've read outside of the Word of God.
Wow.
What about you? What do you
I'm pretty much in agreement.
Really?
In that, just it's one of those great authors do this thing where they dive into a story that really doesn't have much of a story comparatively to like how we are used to now. This like perfect story arc, action-packed things, a perfect resolve, and like in your 8th grade language arts class, you learn you have the introduction of the protagonist, and then you have the rise, and then you have all the different parts of that literature story, all the reaching up to
rising action, climax, resolving action,
and then resolve, right?
Conclusion.
It's in this wave.
Yeah.
And so then certain authors, they're able to do this thing where they take you on this journey that's like
so mundane.
It can be very mundane at the same time.
Could have been the story of 10,000 different families. You know what I mean? It was so mundane.
That was
on the premise.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so I think that because we're going to get into this, because we're going to do a big old long.
Got to do dog-eared dialogues for this one.
Podcast. It's just entirely too long. It's going to be so long.
Yeah, we got to do.
So
I think that we got to do 4 parts, one for each part of the novel.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Just because it is massive, but it's like what's weird is that like it's less hours than Lonesome Dove.
Yeah,
which I know we owe it to our fans to do a Lonesome Dove dog-eared dialogues, but it's less hours than that. But it does feel like there's way more character. Like I don't know, like there's just more details about the characters to flesh out and dive into, and like the allegories of them.
It is kind of an epic in the way it does bring in characters, close out characters and stuff. You gotta treat each thing with what the author intended in his full scope of it. And there's very simple concepts in it that take a whole lifetime to understand. So I'm excited to get into that because I think that it was a great book.
Totally came out of left field for me, man. Yeah. I just downloaded it because I've Steinbeck, he's a classic. I just started listening to it one day when I was like, I gotta put a book on while I'm hopping in my shower. I can't take a shower without listening to an audiobook. And so I was like, I guess I'll start this one and see. And I just in that shower, the first 15 minutes, I was like, this is going to be a good book. I can tell right now, this is going to be a great book.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't want to get too stuck on it, but that's my plug for Audible.
Yeah.
Right. Check out Audible. We got our link. Get your free 30-day trial and all that.
And I'll say this too. If you're one of those people who always says people ask hey, do you read the books or read this book? And they're like, I'm not a reader. Listen
to Audible.
You don't have an excuse anymore.
Yeah.
Do you shower? Do you drive your car?
Yep.
Do you do anything by yourself?
Do you go to bed?
Do you go to bed?
Do you need something to silence those thoughts at night?
Exactly. Yeah. Some of these books might not help you silence them.
East of Eden did for me. It was so easy to fall asleep to Richard Poe narrating.
It's true. He's got a great voice.
He's got a great voice.
And so you don't have an excuse anymore. Audible, get it, listen to books. And because here's the deal, all those like reading lists from elementary, middle school, high school, all the ones that I pretended to read and spark noted, I shorted myself. I did not take the benefit of them that I could have had younger. Now, also at the same time, I might not have been able to have the same perspective as I do now.
And also at the same time, some of those books suck. I don't care who you are.
That's true.
I'm going to say it. Can't remember the name of the book. It sucked. The one that the Leonardo DiCaprio.
Great Gatsby.
Great Gatsby. Dude, that book sucked.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says. That was not a good book.
It's brutal. It's brutal. It sucks. And so what you got to do is revisit some of these things because there's gems in there too. Yeah. There's gems that you can uncover, and instead of doing whatever it is you do, doom scrolling, stop checking your phone at the stoplight. Guess what you don't do at the stoplight if you're listening to a book?
True.
You don't check your phone.
You know what you do though if you're stopped at a stoplight listening to East of Eden? Wipe your eyes because you've been crying. Anyways, though, check them out. Those are our sponsors.
Well,
also,
we kind of have a newer sponsor. Well, not a sponsor. We have a newer, affiliate partnership who provides parts to help you look.
You're talking about Primary Arms?
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah, it is true. Primary Arms is an affiliate with us now. We're partnered with them. And yeah. We're going to have links for you guys to go through if you want to check them out. Check out their website and get a nice referral discount code there. It does help us out. It doesn't cost you any more to go buy a scope or a firearm or ammo through Primary Arms going through our links than it does normally. In fact, it's actually going to give you more often than not a discount. So just all that said, Primary Arms, if you need anything for your firearms, go check them out. I personally have just gone into long range shooting. We talked about our firearms that we want to get and stuff because I just bought a 308 AR-10. And I put that Primary Arms optic on there, dude. And everyone who I've let shoot that gun says it's the clearest glass that they've looked through.
Oh, yeah.
And it's great. It's only a 1 to 8x, but I've been able to punch out to 300 yards with it and keep all my... I'm an amateur long range shooter. And I've been able to keep 300-yard groupings inside of a dinner plate. So, all I said, that's with good match ammo. But, speaking of firearms, Pat, we got some. Are these here right now? Is this a simulation?
Yeah.
Do my eyes deceive me? Because I see something on the table that
is not sold by Primary Arms.
Not sold by Primary Arms.
I'm gonna buy something from Primary Arms to put on top of it.
Heck yeah.
So maybe on the bottom too.
Yeah.
And the other day I was just minding my own business, working, being a working man.
Being a working Joe.
And I receive a text message from old Mick, and it says, "The Raiders are in stock." And instantly I was screwed. There was no chance that I wasn't going to immediately, when I had a moment, go purchase the Raider. The Flux Raider.
Is that really? Yeah, is that how you feel, man? You felt stuck.
What was the first thing I texted back to you?
I think you said, "Oh no, you shouldn't have sent me that."
Exactly. It was. I was like, "Oh, because this is like this is a thing that's been for people who follow it or know about it. It's been really hard to get. It's always out of stock. They make a lot of these. What's the generic term for
chassis?
The chassis. A chassis for your pistol.
Yeah, chassis. You put your pistol in it, and it's supposed to enable your pistol to
have some support.
Yeah, have some support with it, whether that's a brace or a stock or a little bit more of a grip. And it's supposed to kind of add more weight and control to the recoil. It pretty much, it's the difference between going from, your standard handgun pistol to, an MP5.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you can't afford an MP5,
you get a chassis.
But
also, the scalping prices for Flux, because they're unobtainium, are the prices sometimes of MP5s.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep, they've been marked up. And I'll say this too about chassis. Chassis, by and large, 95% of them are garbage.
Gimmick garbage.
They're not worth your time. Yeah. They're not really safe. They're not going to work well.
I know we got homies who own a Ronin. I love you. Your parents love you. I hate that thing. If I ever see it, I'll kick it. I'll kick it like a dog.
Yeah. And so we got ourselves some Flux Raiders, and it's the Flux Raider X.
The new one.
The new
Cutting
one.
edge.
Yeah. And
glass reinforced polymer body.
yeah.
Sorry. I'm so stoked.
And so we have one in here that's just blank, ready? It's a blank canvas.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Everyone, I'm in the zeitgeist. Okay, guys. I've watched everyone else see it. I've watched everyone's video of like use case for PCC. That's a pistol caliber carbine or pistol caliber chassis. And almost everyone's like, there's not a real use for this. There's not a real use for this. But then the Flux came out and the tune diddly darn did change.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, this is it. This is the pinnacle. There won't be a better one than this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it works is that you take the serialized part of the SIG P320, which is just the trigger system. I'm dumbing this language down for people who aren't as familiar with firearms.
Mm-hmm.
So some more of our gun familiar guys might be like, well, that's not the technical term, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm kind of dumbing it down. The fire control group, or for those of you who don't know guns, inside the gun is the trigger. Mm-hmm. The trigger is the serialized part for the P320. It's what the manufacturer, the ATF, says that's the gun.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just take the trigger out of the pistol and put it in a chassis, the gun is still the gun. You just have rehoused it. And as long as you comply with the ATF's rules and regulations, it's still considered a pistol. You don't have to do any paperwork or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And so, though, P320s, ubiquitous. They're in stock everywhere. You know, they're like, it's like they're the Honda Civic of the handguns right now. Like, and that's not a diss on them. You know, Honda Civics, they're the reason they're the number one sold car in America.
And now what the P320 has done is it's become versatile and customizable. So like, it's not just a gun.
Yeah.
You know, so you can have, there's so many different options for it. It's very similar to an AR build.
Yeah.
In that you can get all these little parts for it that are going to be, you know, you can trick it out or keep it simple or whatever.
It's not to the level of like Glock aftermarket support.
Right.
But it's not going for it. You know what I mean? They're trying to keep a lot of it like in-house and like more kind of less sketch. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But they do look sick. Since those are so available, I haven't even bought one yet.
Right.
I haven't even bought a fire control unit from the P320 to get for the Flux, because I know the Flux is the much more difficult part to obtain. And I don't have that much interest in carrying a 320. Excuse me, that'll probably change once I have my Flux up and running. Just because I think it makes sense to have, like, if the Flux is going to be my backpack gun, truck gun, yada yada, right? Then it makes sense to have a handgun concealed carry that shares the same magazine system. Right. You know what I mean? That's kind of my logic behind it. So, but anyways, so I got mine. It's not set up. It's this blank one. Hasn't been done yet. But Pat, you already got a 320.
I've kind of built it out. And one thing about chassis in general has been that usually you just stick your whole gun in it. This one, what we were saying is you take it apart and put it in. That's why they really revolutionized there was you could buy different polymer, essentially lowers or grips, then put this stuff in. And some genius was like, well, I'm just going to build a giant lower polymer grip. And that's why this chassis is winning. And I've built mine out, but I've built it out with just like the parts I had, you know, so essentially, but I'm excited about it. So it's in the bag. I'm going to pull it out.
I won't make fun of it.
Yeah. But, so here's this is a small backpack.
That's a standard, you know, basic, what I would expect, like everyday guy backpack. Like it almost looks more like a mechanic backpack. You know what I mean? Like exactly what he's bringing his lunch to work in.
Yep. And I have this middle pocket's actually open right now. Right. Like, but
can't see it.
That's the pocket it's in.
Wow.
We're grabbing the right part here. So it's all built out. And the way this thing's designed is you're able to put we'll describe this as best we can since we're no video, you know, me and Mick get to enjoy looking at it. Y'all don't get to, but
just open it up on your phone, guys.
Exactly. So you're able to throw a big boy optic on top as well as a flashlight on the bottom because it's got the rails. It's got a spot for you load your mag just like into a normal pistol, but then where your forehand goes is going to be on a secondary magazine, and
it's not a foregrip.
Yeah,
it's not an angle foregrip.
Yeah, it's just as I said, your forehand.
Yeah.
Your
No,
forehand,
I'm just specifying. Doesn't
Right.
it say it on it? I'm pretty sure it says on it. This is not a foregrip.
That's funny. Yeah, it does. It says it literally is engraved there, not a foregrip.
Yeah.
It said,
You just put your hand there,
Hey,
but
listen.
it's not a foregrip.
It's June, everybody. You get to be what you want.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
All right.
What's the flux might identify as,
Dude, the flux is in flux. That's
Yeah.
the reason it's named flux.
but just saying, there's some things around language we use around gun stuff that is maybe very similar to like
The other language
also
around
other languages
other
that
stuff.
people use to circumvent whatever law. So here I'm gonna play this noise for you right here. Ready? Listen to this. That is the probably the best part about this.
the brace,
The
baby.
brace. When you hit this button, it shoots out, and you're able to then
Brace up.
brace this weapon. And so I'm going to hand it over to Mick here so he can, look at it and play with it. We got to get this sight on. So I've got a red dot on top here, got a little light on the bottom, and mine's a 40 cal, which means the mags are incredibly hard to come by.
The mags are also unobtainium.
Yeah. So also,
How much does a 40 cal 320 mag cost you?
$60. So don't put this mag in here. This is for show. This mag doesn't fit, by the way.
Okay, all right. Why not?
Because it's not quite long enough.
Oh, yeah. It's a 15 rounder.
It's just not long enough. We're not going to speak to capacities.
Yeah, that's right. Good point.
But the
Bro, you ever load up 357s in these mags?
I could and should. Actually, they I don't think a 357 works with my slide.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, but have you so charging it is
That's going to be the most difficult part.
charging it is difficult, but they make an aftermarket charge for the front sight.
Yeah, are you going to go sideways, the sidewinder,
I might,
or the top one?
if probably top, because I'm lefty, and so
Yeah.
the way that because I don't know if they make a lefty version. I'm sure they do, but
Oh, yeah, you're right. I don't think they do yet.
yeah.
Bummer.
But try the mag swap on that. But here's how you do it. You see that? Think like
This long one?
AK like button on the back of your foregrip thumb.
Oh, yeah.
Click it once, like address the weapon though, just like you're using it. Like get your
Okay.
yeah. Okay, now now it's time to reload.
Okay.
Push it once. Now push it. Oh, no, push it harder. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, all right.
So
I see what you're talking about there.
So the cool thing about how you change mags on this is it's one button to drop your. Yeah, it's all right. It comes out. He put the mag in there. I told him not to.
Well, I did it. I wanted to get the full vibe.
Yeah.
But I'm using my flathead. Don't worry. There we go.
No, it's fine. But you're able to do a mag change super quick. I mean, a monkey could do it so fast. And so the cool thing about guns these days is you don't even have to be good. They've made so many advancements. Like you're going to be good. It's hilarious. Put a red dot on there. Put a flux on there.
Is this a left-handed brace now?
Left-handed brace.
Put it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see because it really braces right against your forearm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It does.
As
Right in
God intended.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, I'm so excited. And like the weight of it is like it feels very balanced. Like it doesn't feel, it's weird because like you hold a handgun and you don't really think too much of your handgun being forward heavy
Right.
because you have the mag in your back.
Right.
But between this, kind of metal railed brace, the optic behind
Mm-hmm.
the actual grip, and then the double mag up front, like you really do feel the difference in weight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, once
Excuse
it's
me,
built,
but it feels like the weight the balance is like, feels pretty center, like right on where the, like right where your pistol grip is.
for sure.
That's pretty much it. That's it.
It's right there. Because I will say, when I bought it,
Bang!
And I got out of the box, I was kind of like, I made a mistake.
No way, really?
Just like feeling it, like feeling stuff rattle, being like, this is all plastic, some metal. Like, I had a little bit of buyer's remorse initially.
No.
But listen, I'm just saying, and then I built it out and I was like, this is so sick. That's super awesome. So that's just a warning, Panther. If you get it, because it's not necessarily cheap, so you get it. You might feel a little bit of that like buyer's remorse too, just like for a second, but it's awesome. And once you build it out, it feels great. Definitely watch their instructional video on how to put it together instead of doing it the man way. The man way is, we don't look at instructions, but the man way can ruin your flux. And I almost did when I tried to build mine out. So
that would suck.
So watch the YouTube video.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I'll say this. Once I have my like slide figured out, like what slide I'm going to be running with the barrel and the comp and all that. I've just seen some people do some pretty sick paint jobs on them. That's what I'm just going to go for it.
Because with it collapsed, the length is 12 inches.
Yeah.
Right.
And here's the thing too, like I'm not going to stand on the hill and be like, yeah, this is your daily carry. Right. Like people make holsters for it, but it is a big ass holster.
It'd be silly.
You could have it on a drop leg holster. I think it could kind of serve in that capacity of like firearm that you pull out of the holster, right? For like a security personnel, something like that, maybe. But like if you're doing security and you're using this, you might as well just go full up to like a, just a carbine, like 5.56 carbine or something. So all that said though, like what I see it for is honestly like a very practical, like covert, like emergency gun. Like it's that extra step of like beyond your daily concealed carry. If you think of like that pyramid that's like, what's that guy's name? Hierarchy of Needs guy. He wrote the hierarchy of needs for people.
I don't remember.
Well, I'll look it up.
So while you're looking that up, I think that, like you're saying, this is not a concealed carry gun. You don't necessarily like it, and it's really not necessarily. It's not a self-defense weapon in my mind.
Oh, I think it is.
Well, meaning this, like when I think self-defense, as far as like immediate action, I think like this. Oh my God, this situation just happened so fast. It's the guy with the hey, give me your money, or it's the like I see like it's someone rounds the corner approaching me. Like honestly, you're not going to get this thing out in time. Hit the button to extend the brace, and then also it's. Honestly, if you don't have the aftermarket stuff, it's hard to rack, like get into battery. So like if it's not already in battery, you're done. And so like I do see it as it's still to defend yourself, but would be for a more in an offensive situation. Meaning like, okay, I've had time to get this out from like beneath my like seat, or get it from out of the bag, check it, make sure it's charged, like extend it, go through like everything's good to go. Now I'm in it versus this like, pull bang. It's not a pull bang.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's what I'm saying.
I think it could be. I think it occupies a place where it could be, right? And it really depends. But like, so Maslow, right?
Oh, yes.
He's the one who does the hierarchy of needs.
It's a good name for a cat.
That is a great cat name. Like most psychologists, great cat guys. Like great cat name guys. But at the bottom of your hierarchy of needs, you have your most basic, most common needs, right? Which is essentially just going to be like
flux raters.
Yeah, exactly. But you're going to have like your food, shelter, water down there. Right. And then past those, you get to like, the next level of needs, which is like warmth, clean, like cooked food, and then like permanent shelter. And then the next one up is like social social needs,
female companionship,
and the next one after that is like mental needs, right? And like when you're at the top of the hierarchy, the like need is like occupation of free time.
Right.
You know, like at the most is like, that's like the highest part of the triangle. And I think like use cases for a firearm of like situations you might need a firearm kind of also function from like a scale of like most likely to occur at the bottom and most like unlikely to occur at the top in the top tippy point of the triangle. And the firearm you will need for that situation or not even need, but like the best firearm. Cause I'm not going to, I'm always going to err on the side that it's totally appropriate to use your AR or use your shotgun as a self-defense firearm, right? Like every firearm could be used as a self-defense firearm.
Right,
so I'm never going to say it's wrong to use that.
Right.
But I'm just going to say you're more likely at the most common thing, which is someone is threatening your life or the life of someone else. The most common firearm you're probably going to use is a handgun concealed on your body.
Right.
That's more often than not the most common way. And the flux begins to, I think, occupy in that triangle just past the most common situation of like criminal encounter to like temporary instability.
Yeah.
And now I'm not even saying like societal. I'm saying it could be just personal instability.
I'd say this. Somebody didn't assault you, but like, let's say you hear gunshots.
If you have time,
this is what you want instead.
and you're in your home or you're in your car,
Yeah.
that this is the thing that you can grab very quickly, covertly, and it can still be concealed very easily. I was watching people run it with jackets, you know, and just like a sling underneath a jacket. And it's like, okay, until I find the threat, I don't really want people to see me run around with a gun. I don't want the police. I don't want the police to shoot me accidentally, so I'm going to keep it underneath my jacket.
Or the other guy with the fluctuator to shoot you. There's so many possibilities these days.
You know, I think it occupies that space as well as like, you know, when I think instability, like temporal instability, it's like, I think COVID. Like COVID was we now like on the other side of it know it was a temporary instability. Like when it first happened and everyone was panicking and loading up trash bags into their car of their clothes and food and just fleeing. Like I can't tell you how many people I saw flee their rental house in our little college town here to go somewhere where there was, I guess, a bigger home with more family. It was insane, dude. The day our city announced they were doing a lockdown.
Oh yeah.
Just so like the whole neighborhood, everyone who had a truck and like family or, you know, whatever friends, they just loaded up. They just left, dude. And I was like, okay, all right. So like, we'll see how everyone else reacts here. Right. Something like that where like you're unsure and to be walking around with an AR, again, not going to say that's wrong. Depends on your situation, but to be walking around with an AR or a shotgun visible makes you much more of a target to like those trying to maintain the order. Like they see that immediately as a threat.
And those who are trying to overthrow the order.
Sure. Yeah. And like, I mean, and like, but like, that's exactly like the thing. Like I always reference Katrina. Everyone forgets that in Katrina, if the government saw you with a gun, they were legally allowed to shoot at you and they were allowed, like they had full martial authority to confiscate your firearm from you. Now, whether or not that's justified is a whole nother conversation, but everyone forgets that the National Guard went door to door taking everyone's guns.
Martial law is a different thing than everyday civil liberties.
Yeah.
And the other thing about, you know, like having anything, even if you're open carrying in general, like anytime, a thing I always live by is like a firearm always escalates the threat.
Oh yeah.
For you and them, meaning, you know, you
increases the consequences go up.
Yeah. And it just means like if I see a guy with a carbine shotgun, okay, that's like, I'm like my threat, like my
immediately aware.
Yeah. I'm very like, that's like, I'm spiking spidey senses. You don't even have spidey senses at that point. You don't need them. You can see the guy, but like, and so anytime you can, as an individual in the situation, be a de-escalator, that's better. But at the same time, be very prepared with something they don't need to know you have. And hopefully you're not even going to need it, but you have it.
Yeah.
That's what this thing really can cover the bases on. I
agree. Yeah. So anyways, I'm going to try to get as much rain time as possible with it over the next year. Like I'm really stoked about it. And I'm going to try to become uber duper proficient with it.
Yeah.
Because I really do want this. Like, this is going to essentially live in a role where it's going to be in a backpack, and it's going to be in that backpack unless I pull it. Like, it's never going to go in a gun case. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's always going to be in a vehicle or in it, like in the backpack in the vehicle, or, you know, by the desk or whatever. So that way, like, in a moment's notice, I could grab it and go.
Yeah.
But is it always going to be on body? Probably not. Right.
Right.
Anyways, super stoked about it. If you guys haven't seen them, you should watch some videos. They're pretty exciting. Flux Raider. You can find them on Gun Broker for sometimes $1,500.
Yeah, double, triple the price.
Or you can set an alarm, 7 p.m. on Thursdays, 7 p.m. Mountain Time on Thursdays. And that's usually when they announce restock. And if you're quick, you can grab one off their website. So, all that said, let's get on to some of our other topics, dude.
For sure. We're talking about violence. And violence comes in all sorts of forms.
I mean, aren't we always talking about violence? Isn't that what we always talk about on this
problem?
podcast?
I don't know. Maybe. It's in my nature. I'm not even a violent guy, but I like to talk about it. I like to think about it. I like to see what's going on in the world with it. And
sure.
We've mentioned this guy on the podcast. Actually, like, he might be like the second or third most mentioned person. You know, like we talk about him a lot, but you know, and the Mike Glover, he's a YouTuber, business owner, ex Special Forces, Green Beret guy. He was arrested about a month and a half ago for domestic violence charges. And leading up to now, you know, he's been a very outspoken person around, mostly around preparedness. He owns a company called Fieldcraft Survival. They sell med kits and classes on, you know, being prepared. And they sell also stickers. You know, they sell all sorts of stuff. The standard YouTuber preparedness stuff they sell. And so he's kind of been making his way in the world post a military service, building a business and other things. And he found himself in a bit of a pickle. And so far, you know, the story goes, you know, it came out that he was in jail. He was in jail.
Not prison.
Not quite prison. For domestic violence charges. The short version is that his girlfriend / partner / baby mama was... There's two sides of the story, obviously, but the kind of non-biased version is they were having a husband-wife verbal argument, and the wife, or you know, this girlfriend says some things and takes the baby to the bathroom. He came upstairs. He was angry, broke the door down, or got into the bathroom. He wasn't, and then. In the initial police report says that he grabbed her wrist after busting the door down and said, "I'll break your wrist," and grabbed her wrist really hard. After x-rays showed that she did have a broken wrist, and police came. He was arrested and was facing 4 felony convictions for felony domestic violence, committing domestic violence in front of children on 3 accounts. He has 2 children and then 1 with this lady. And then the 4th one would be, I don't know the legal term, but the judge said, don't talk to your wife. It was like a non-contact order.
It was a non-contact order.
And he broke it.
First phone call in the jail is to a buddy saying, "Hey, can you contact her?"
Yeah. Yeah. And via the secondary police report.
Yeah.
Because none of this has been to court yet, and there's been no final ruling made on the situation. And so, you know, Mike's a guy who's I've followed for a long time. I think I've got like some close connections to the guy, and so I think that like I want to see the best for him in it. And granted, I've never met the guy, and so it's like I think that
you know people who work with him.
I know people who know him. You
Yeah.
know? So like know people who know him, and so it's like I do feel somewhat, you know, it's what he's not my buddy, but I feel mildly. It's a weird
Heart
thing.
goes
how
out to him.
You can kind of feel mildly connected to someone. It's a friend to a friend of a friend thing.
Yeah,
But,
the degrees of Kevin Bacon.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. For real. And so I think that like, and also I'm always cautious when entering into these things I try to be cautious on like making a personal state, like making a public statement or making a personal judgment on it, because so many things can go so many different ways. And I think all parties and both parties in this thing have, there's probably blame to be had on both parties and peace to be made from both sides. But, lately the newest thing is that these charges have been dropped.
Hold on, before you do that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's make it real quick, concise, because that was a lot.
I know, I was kind of rambling.
No, it's good. It's just Mike Glover. He's a former Green Beret. Beret, right?
Yeah.
Or Ranger.
Beret.
And he's been with this woman that he calls his wife, but they're not technically married, has a kid with her, not his first wife that he had 2 kids with. And she seems to have grabbed a kid, ran upstairs to the bathroom, locked him in. He broke through the door.
Yep.
This is seems right. This is what was reported. And he broke her wrist. And then the police showed up. He didn't beat her. He grabbed her wrist, and it wasn't like he was smashing her face against the toilet, right?
Right.
He wasn't trying to kill her or harm the child. All that said, before we go too far, I think the other side of that we should say too is like his side of like, before things came out recently, it's like his side is like, hey, this chick has tried to self-harm herself. Yep. She's mentioned stuff about like self-harming her and the children. And like, I was worried she was taking our child up to, she said, I'm going to give him a haircut. And then after we had an argument, ran up the stairs, locked the door. And I was like afraid she was going to drown herself and the kid.
Right. Because one thing to note that he said in the first police report that I think is worth like noting, which I'll say this, I like to be naked, but this picture of what he described does raise some like hairs on the back of my neck when he said, I saw her at the top of the stairs fully nude and the child was fully nude and she walked into the bathroom. Yeah. There is something of a like, it feels like a scene from a movie. Yeah. When the crazy person's about to do.
It sounds exactly like it immediately when I was reading like his report of it, I was like, oh, that sounds just like the chick Leonardo DiCaprio was married to in that Island movie. What was it called? Shutter Island.
Yeah. I was like
that. Yeah. Okay. I might kick the door in too.
Right. Because you don't know what's going on.
But okay. All right. So give us the latest news. That was this. I just so that way everyone's on board. Latest update. Yeah. And so now the kind of and then you can go watch videos and breakdowns on this stuff because people have been talking about it. But now at this point his not all charges have been dropped, but the felony charges have been dropped after a judge and prosecutor looked at kind of all this stuff. They determined that it wasn't warranting felony charges. Part of that being because she did recontact the police and recant her initial statement and told another story. And it's worth noting that they had both not been in contact with each other when she told her side of the story again, because she initially at first he said one thing, she said another when they were separated. He goes and is locked up. He is no longer talking to her. And then she recants what she said and gives another statement that then matches up with what he said. So, it could be assumed there's two versions of two trains of thought to go down on this, which would be one would be she could have been intimidated into saying a story that matches up by him or somebody else, right? So to get charges dropped. But the way that the timeline played out was she actually pretty quickly retold the story, and talked about her own mental health issues, and he had not been in contact with her at that point. So there wasn't necessarily a chance for that kind of
the stories to get realigned.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so when two people who are pretty much totally separated give the same story, at that point, in general, that story can be more trusted than if they'd been in the same room, collaborating. And they did not have a chance to collaborate in this story. So,
and I think it's important to say, like, there was things in the initial police report that were just straight up not true.
Right.
Like the initial police report said that Mike broke the door down to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
They literally went to the house to take photos on the case
mm-hmm.
for evidence. The door was not broken down. There was actually no sign of like the door being broken at all.
There was like a crack in a hinge, but not like the way it sounded.
It wasn't like he kicked it off.
Yeah,
hinges, exactly.
Right?
Or just like bulldozed through it.
Right. And so
there was the other one too, where she, like, they said, like, I guess corroborating her words too, but like what they said is like she actually broke her wrist falling on the bathtub.
A dirt bike accident.
Oh, she did say it was a dirt bike accident instead of that.
Because what she initially said was
so much sense with the jokes.
So she walked it. So the initial story was he came in and said, "I'll break your effing wrist," and then grabbed her wrist and snapped it. But also her X-rays were from the X-rays showed a hairline fracture of an injury that had happened prior to that moment. So a hairline fracture. The type of fracture was from an impact type injury, not from someone twisting. And so, it's like, she said that too. Hey, my wrist actually is hurt from, I wrecked it last week on a dirt bike accident, which, in the city, you say you fell down the stairs, and in the country, you say you had a dirt bike accident. I don't know. So I'm still trying to give this story a full fair shake, but also I'm a fan of Mike Glover, and I think that I think people mess up too. There's so much to say about this whole thing, but the facts we know now would be that she changed her story they lined up with his, and also the big thing that happened to him where he tried to contact her through where he broke the judge's non-contact order. The prosecutor and the judge listened to his conversation and said that wasn't actually a breach of the order. Like, that wasn't a breach of the non-contact order. Whereas what happened initially was the police investigator, when they heard that recorded phone call, they took that to the judge, and the way they'd written the report seemed like, yeah, that's a break of contact order. Then the judge and prosecutor listened to the phone conversation, and they said, no, that's not what he was doing. So I think that one big thing to talk about in this is like how the police reporting has been done on the guy and the investigation has been done, as well as then there's also there's like tons of things to actually break down in this whole story, but at this point he's not in jail right now. He does still have misdemeanor charges, no felony charges, but for him, his world has been really turned upside down, and he gave a update like 2 days ago publicly.
Shirtless, just a hat on, up close to the camera.
Yeah.
Hey guys, Mike here. Just, I mean, it couldn't have been a worse image, in my opinion. Like, dude, like the approach of it is like, again, I haven't even said my opinion on the guy, right?
Right.
I'm just saying, like, that is not the update video you do.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It just doesn't look good. Kind of looked like, again, free country, but kind of looked like he'd been drinking, like he was hot, overwhelmed, stressed, And it's just like, bro, maybe you don't need to make the video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe it don't need to come out yet.
Because one thing,
especially since you can't talk about it. You can't talk about the case.
Yeah. One thing me and you talked about a couple weeks ago on this, offline on this, was we were talking about how people who are in the spotlight always they can't help themselves but to come back out into the spotlight. Like, he's not like a senator.
Yeah.
Like, now, I will say his livelihood does depend on his following.
Sure.
In many ways.
Sure.
But at the same time, so many people who go through different scandals or different hard things over time, including whatever, senators, presidents, all these people, public figures, celebrities, now YouTubers, influencers, they for some reason have this need to come out and do a public thing, a public video. And I don't know if it's like, is part of it the like hubris or like narcissism that does drive even initially pursuing such a career as making yourself the face of something? Or is it that they don't see a different way and they feel like they do need to come out and make a statement? I don't know. And I think that both can be true. In this case with his update video, you know, I feel like it was very much like partially sincere. On the back, what's funny is the back half, he did give like advice for other people who are struggling. And sometimes when you're struggling, it's not a good time for you to give advice. Just shut the hell up and say what you need to say and get off. You know, if you do need to give an update to let people know what's going on, do it and then get off. You don't need to like, don't be preachy if you're not in a good place to preach. Don't be preachy, you know. And like, sure, that was my main problem with that video, was the back half for him on that, where I was like, hey man, like the first 2 things you said I thought was great, was just like, hey, you know, you're letting us know you're still around. You kind of gave us a brief update where you're at, kind of emotionally. Sounds like you're getting help. And then like, but
he was like, I've been praying a lot. I've been when I was in jail, my cellmate told me about what to pray. And is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that first half he did mention spirituality, re-engaging his.
He said prayer a lot.
He mentioned prayer a lot. He mentioned re-engaging his faith. He mentioned he did choke up around saying how he hasn't seen his kid in a long time, how his family's totally broken and devastated from this, you know. And so like the things he came out and said, I think it's a part of like, it was fine. It's fine to come out and say those sorts of things, but then also, you know, you don't always have, it's like how people always like right now, we're not going to give the phone number for the domestic violence hotline. It's like, or like the suicide hotline. Like there's like people for some reason, like it's like a thing where people feel like they have to give something of offering. But if you don't have anything to offer, just shut the hell up and don't offer anything. If you want to pour out yourself and where you're at, that's fine. Like, tell us where you're at.
Sure.
Because that's good. But then also to be like, and by the way, if you're struggling, like call 1-800-222-222. And also like, it's really worth getting help in these situations or whatever. And then he, from there, he continued on into like, kind of like, just like a broad message to all people struggling, which what he's doing psychologically at that point is deflecting and projecting his issues on the rest of the world, because then you are no longer othered. In this situation, he's felt super othered and super isolated as someone who's done something bad and something shameful and something harmful. But now, by being kind of preachy and telling other people about it, you are therefore unothering yourself. You think you're helping others, but what you're actually doing is saying like, what you kind of are saying is what I did isn't uncommon or maybe not that big a deal. And so therefore it's okay. Even if if you have this problem, right. Here you go. And I'm not even saying they're doing that, that they're knowingly doing that. I think it's a subconscious thing that people do as self-preservation. That's why everybody hates apology videos. Because for some reason people just can't give a sincere apology out there. Yeah, well, right. It's because they're trash. Right, and they are. But that's like, I think there are people who do give like in themselves a sincere apology video or something. Yeah. But like it's super ill received, and they don't even know why it's ill received, and it's because of this deeper subconscious thing where, you know, sometimes people try to do something where, you know, he's trying to relate, or I don't know. Does that make sense? I mean, that was a lot. It was a lot. I certainly don't feel the same exact amount as you do. So like, I get some of what you're saying, some of it I'm like, I could see that, you know what I mean? It's just because I think I am even like more removed from it than you are, you know? So it's like a little bit more tertiary, but I mean, I get everything you're talking about. And I think that tracks. I like, you know, I will say like one person who I like really did appreciate their apology video was Chris D'Elia. Chris D'Elia just came on, made a video. He was like, I was a sex addict. You guys all know the truth now about like stuff about like, you know, girls who were underage claimed like he was chasing after them.
all that stuff kind of came out and got cleared out. Like, that wasn't really the case, yada, yada, or whatever, right? I'm not here to defend him. I'm just saying, like, I used to listen to his podcast a lot.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was hilarious. When all this scandal stuff came out, I was like, oh, geez, bro. Like, I'm gonna take a step back and let it sort itself out. Like, I hope all the best for him. Mm-hmm. He seems like a guy who is excited to be a dad and family and all that. And then he came in and just did apology videos. Like, I messed up. I got a lot to own up for. I'm going to help. That's what I'm doing. And he didn't, like, as far as I can remember, he didn't do like and you should get help too if you're struggling with this, something like that, because I know I'm not the only one. You know, it wasn't anything like that. He was just like, I cheated on my wife, man. I'm a sex addict, and I would just try to have sex with, you know, I got a high off of it, of having sex with people who idolize me.
Yeah.
And yada, yada. And it was just like, and then like I went and saw him in tour after that. My wife and I got tickets to a show, and his show was pretty much just about like his family and how he's kind of recovered from that. It was a little self-deprecating, but it was really funny.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know. So like all that said, like, I think there can be good apologies like that, but, and also I don't think Mike's was a bad one. I'm just still on the fence about everything.
Right.
Like, there's a court case going on. I'm happy to hear charges were dropped for what seems to be like bullied reasons, right? Seems like, I'm gonna be honest, she sounds a lot like a Section 8 lady. And if you've ever heard of the wives of the housewives of Section 8, it's a funny meme.
Yeah.
But the housewives of Section 8 kind of are like, it's a bit on like women who marry a dude for a lot of money because they don't have anything on their own. Uh-huh. And then when they start not getting what they want, they threaten to do things to the man, like take his kids away or claim he hit them, things like that, right? Mm-hmm. And the Section 8 housing is like, it's a common trait of like women who heavily rely on welfare, Section 8, right?
Right. That's
the kind of whole meme part of it. But everyone's joking about how she's a Section 8 wife or Section 8 gal. And as soon as Mike stops being the hubby or boyfriend she wants, if she's not getting the clout or attention she wants or the money or something like that, her mental games might be kicking in of like what to do. I don't know her. I only know of her from what we've seen in videos, right? Uh-huh. And I'm flipping flabbergasted that Mike, like, how could he not see that as like all the red flags, right? Like she just comes off as like a woman who is grifting. Smoke break.
Smoke break.
Hey, Ken, it's Mick, and I've got something important to talk about. We all hope we never find ourselves in a self-defense situation, but life's unpredictable. Enter the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer, an actual credible law firm you can put on retainer for your self-defense needs. For just $35 a month, you get national coverage in all 50 states for criminal and civil legal representation in self-defense situations, complete with a 24/7, 365 toll-free emergency line. That's real legal support when you need it most. What's in the package? Bail bonds, scene cleanup, firearm replacement, even mental health counseling. Plus, zero fees for a laundry list of defense-related costs like expert witnesses. So support the show and get yourself some peace of mind. Click the link in our show notes or visit our sponsors page to sign up for the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer.
Hey folks, Pat here. If you're like Mick and I, you're a fan of classic tales like Lonesome Dove, Blood Meridian, The Three-Body Problem, and Steinbeck's East of Eden. With Audible, you can dive into these epic stories anytime, anywhere. Sign up for a free month, and your first audiobook is on the house. To start your free trial and support our show, click the link in the show notes or swing by the sponsors page on our website.
Want an awesome website for your podcast? Check out Podpage. We use it for the Mick and Pat show, and it's a game changer. Set it up in minutes, no coding needed. Support the show by using our link to get started. Your podcast deserves a home as great as ours. Podpage, the one-stop solution.
Yeah.
And not to mention like pre-existing suicidal tendencies, threats, to harm oneself, to manipulate him and things like that, threats to harm him or the kids or take them away from him forever, very like obscure threats, right? Like that. like those are just awful and not the type of woman you want to be saddled up to for the rest of your life. I know friends who have had those wives, and those wives, you know, I have a friend whose wife literally like pulled a gun and shot, and he was asleep, and he woke up, and he, like, to this day, he was like, they're separated now. Yeah. To this day, he's like, I cannot say with full confidence that she wasn't shooting at me through the wall.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? Because she was drunk and just grabbed his gun and shot it at him, like shot in the direction of their bedroom, and it went through the wall, right?
Yeah.
And it's just insanity, right? So all that said, I'm waiting to hear how things come out. Could Mike have some problems with anger and abuse? For sure.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I'm never surprised when people who have PTSD have issues with violence or alcohol or drugs or anything like that, right? Like there's a hole in you and you try to fill it up with something else to make you feel not hurting or empty, to distract, right? That said, how many times it's a trope, and there's a reason it's a trope. Military dudes are awful at picking partners for the most part. I know, I think I know 3 people who are happily married right now out of like the 15 or so I know who went and served in the military after high school.
Right.
And a couple of them had to make some wrong choices before they found a girl who was the right move to go steady with.
Yeah.
So all that said, I could care less about what sounds right or what sounds correct or politically correct, or if I'm sticking up for Mike or if I'm, calling him out as a chauvinist pig. What I care about is how freaking funny some of these comments were.
Oh yeah, they were getting
dude. So like, for those of you who don't know, you need to pass a background check to own a firearm. However, there is a class of firearms that you don't need a background check for, and that if you are a felon, you can legally own.
I didn't know this.
They're known as black powder guns.
Oh yeah,
black powder guns like require no background check. You can just go buy it off the shelf, and you can load up your musket or your like cap and ball revolver. And dude, some of the fun. So like, here's the thing: even if Mike just has a misdemeanor domestic violence charge, he loses access to all of his firearms. He's never going to be able to own a gun again. He's never going to be able to own a business or be a part of a business, like as a what's it called? Limited liability co-ownership or anything like that. He's not going to be able to be a part of if they own firearms. I saw some of the most hilarious comments were there. Like, I went back and I was like, let's just see what people are commenting on the videos. Because everyone, of course, on the videos is like, woman beater. I'm like, you don't know that for sure.
Right.
Like, I'm the cautious to jump to conclusions. But what I do appreciate is people who can make a situation funny.
Yeah. And
so people are like, dude, I'm so excited for Mike's top 5 favorite archery compound bows for concealed carry. And someone else is like, oh, dude, I'm really looking forward to that. Mike's how to clear a room with a black powder revolver. And like, I just found like those comments to be some of the most funny and creative, while like kind of poking fun at but like not really poking fun at Mike.
You gotta get the both ends.
Not being angry at him, you know what I mean?
That's a good form of comedy.
Yeah, I'm sure Mike was gonna read that and be like, haha, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
So all that said, it's a bummer situation.
For sure. And I think too, like, because there's like a being pro her or pro him, like, honestly, like,
I'm pro neither of them. Can I say that?
I'd say I'm pro their family being like good, and I'm anti I'm not anti the justice system, but I'm anti like the cops who maybe
just listen to one side or the other,
or were maybe a little bit exaggeratory in their response, or like hasty, and or like, it's one thing to do reporting well, and then it's another thing to do reporting to put someone in prison, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and so like, I think that, like the because what I see here, what I think happened in this situation, if I was just given like if I had to like bet my life on a guess, it's like Mike had 2 glasses of whiskey, and she has mental health problems. They have marriage problems. He, she said some crazy stuff. He went upstairs, forced the door in, maybe didn't break it down, but he came in there and was scary and yelled at her because he was, maybe not composed. And then, maybe he did grab her arm. I don't think he didn't, there wasn't evidence of him like, beating her, and like, even if, in some cases too, like he could have grabbed her wrist, and she's a tiny lady. He's a big man. Like, let's say he did break her wrist. I don't know, but like, and then the cops get involved. And then this whole thing happens where eventually one of the kids did get taken away by DHS for a week, all these things. Now you have all these government agencies involved where, there are tons of cases of where law enforcement, government agencies need to get involved to keep kids safe, to keep women safe, to keep men safe. And that's kind of like the order of my importance in my hierarchy. But then there's also plenty of cases of just families having like a shitty day that no one needs to be involved in. And they need to have like good community, good reconciliation, move forward, get help for both their issues, and keep moving forward without all this other crap where like, the whole world knows about it and you're looking at like potentially 4 felonies. I mean, that's like you're looking at tons of jail time, totally a wrecked life, and for her too, with her kids, and for these children too, thinking about like, a wrecked life for these children and stuff. So it's like, if it's all been blown out of proportion, it's like, for me, I'm pro them versus pro the system. Sure. If that makes any sense, like, because I think that lots of people get into these situations all the time. Yeah,
I'll be honest, like, I'm more pro. Honestly, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know the solution. Here's what I think. I think they're both probably not the best parents. And I'm going to be honest. Like, it sounds to me like they both weaponize the kids against one another. I think she's grabbing a kid to give him a haircut and scaring Mike intentionally. I think Mike, yes, totally could be in the situation justified wanting to protect his kid, concerned about his kid's welfare. But I also think like he probably also is at his fair share of pulling the kids, trying to get them maybe like to instigate her. Because it's usually not just one parent that does that. The parents usually do tug of war with the kids. Right. And so I'm pro people getting their life together. I'm not sure that them being together is good for those kids.
Right.
And I'll be honest, bro, especially his kids who are not hers. That's super scary.
Yeah.
She's got those kind of self-harm ideations and stuff like that. It's kind of dangerous to have her around kids who aren't her own.
Right.
Sounds like she could be a moment jealous. You know what I mean? Stuff happens all the time. So, all right. All that said, my final thoughts on the whole situation.
Yeah.
The comments are hilarious. The creative ones. I hope Mike's okay. I hope his wife, girlfriend, whatever is okay. I hope the kids are okay. And I hope that it gets resolved quickly. I'll be honest. I'm just like, it's one of those things that like, it's so messy that I don't want to get involved in drama like that on the internet.
Because there's billions of people in the world, and like
what I care more about is like the image it gives to other people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like other people who might be like I did see this. This is the biggest thing. This is my biggest pet peeve.
Right.
I was like, I wonder when we're going to hear about Grantham. Wonder when we're going to hear about admin. I wonder when we're going to hear about donut operator. I wonder when, and like everyone's just like, it's just a blatant brush strokes of like all these guys are now going to be woman beaters. Because all of them are married to crazy women. You know what I mean? And it's like one of those things of like, that's nasty. That's so gross to just paint brushes like that.
And because all these guys have chosen to align themselves with a certain ideology or like way of living, and then publicize it and monetize it. You could very easily like mirror that over onto like religious leaders, meaning like when a pastor does something. Now every
pastor's bad. Every Christian
and all of his
every
followers,
Muslim, every Jew,
all that thing. So it's like, meaning it's just similarly, and this is a much smaller. We're talking about a much smaller, less consequential group being like the gun tuber community, right? I'm not comparing that to any, your faith, but I just think you can, with you're saying the broad strokes of that being like, because they've decided to elevate their face to represent more than themselves, they have a greater responsibility to, basically be in line, which is also like, which is then, it's something that I wonder if other people like Grand Thumb, Donut Operator, these guys have thought of that also, been like, hey, like I'm bigger than, this isn't just me and my friends goofing around with firearms. This is like
Paul Harrell says, remember, wherever you go, you're representing a community. Exactly.
And so I wonder if they've considered that in their life outside of, this little thing for them. So yeah, it's definitely a messy situation, and we hope the best for first the kids and then these adults to get their crap figured out, whether they end up together or not, and then family is a big deal. And a big part of having a family, I'm just shifting us over here. A big part of having a family is having a roof over that family.
Having a roof over the family.
And some people, they just go out there and start having kids. They figure it out later.
Yeah.
But those of us who are more analytical, more data-driven, and more thoughtful, I'm just saying, we buy a house before you have kids.
Maybe.
Now Pat's not in this case, but I'm just saying, old Mick just bought a house. So
I bought a Billie Jean and I just now entered into homeownership.
How many bedrooms does it have?
Well, 3, but the basement is finished with like a bathroom and closet.
Yeah.
So I categorize that as like a possible 4th one day.
So, I'm just saying, like,
you want kids?
I'm just saying you're planning and you're progressing, and part of that's buying a house. So the home buying process in America today is
spooky,
crazy,
compared
to how it's ever been. And maybe every generation's always felt like it's crazy to how it's always been, but it is exponentially crazy right now. And you did it. You closed. You got the keys.
It wasn't fun. I'll be honest, dude. Buying a house is not fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's like everyone has this dream about it, fantasy about it, and then you start doing it. Just a lot of ups and downs of emotions, and very easy to like lose your cool. Like it took me a lot of patience to not like lose my temper in the whole process, not like get in arguments with Billie Jean about stuff. And we had to have like, this has been like a multi-year thing of like trying to buy a house,
right,
and figure out the thing. And a lot of it is like, the expression I use the whole time is like, from a believer perspective, you have to hold it with open hands. And you have to just not want it so badly that you're going to hold on to it tight and make a bad decision or a rush decision. Right.
Right.
And, I'm not saying it's God's will you have a house or not, but I'm just saying, like, trust in God to help you make a good decision. Trust in God's wisdom to let that lead you when you're like, this is not wise. This isn't financially wise. This is an idol, right? That's the biggest thing is what I mean out of like holding on to it tightly is like
people make it an idol.
Yeah. So many people make it an idol. And like, that's something that Billie Jean and I wrestled with in seasons of like, is this an idol right now? We don't need it. We're 2 people in an apartment. It's totally fine. We can deal. So all that said though, I was shocked at how affordable it is in a super high cost of living area like we are in right now. And I say affordable, like in quotes, I guess, right? Like it is a lot of money, but you don't need $100,000. You don't even need close to that
to get in.
Yeah, to get a good house. You know what I mean? To get something that you can get set up with well. But you need to have discretion. You need to be willing to have you need to have things that you concede.
Right.
And for us, like there was like a priority list, and we wrote out the priority list, and like I even made it down to like what's too expensive if we're looking at cost per square foot. You know, and I tried to keep it, I was like essentially like $200 cost per square foot, starts tipping over to like, I'm not sure this is financially a good investment. Even if it was a $300,000 house, 200 square foot is like less than 1,500 square feet.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not that big, much bigger than an apartment.
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you can afford. I'm not dogging on it. But where we live, you know, $300,000 for 1,000 to 1,500 square foot place.
Good luck.
You're getting more of like a Gucci thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, is that a good financial investment? Because then you got your HOAs, you got your tax, all that stuff, right? And that's probably not the best investment for first time home buyers.
Right.
Trying to set themselves up for a family. Where are you going to put your kids when you start having kids? You know what I mean?
For sure.
So, I mean, I'm an open book with questions if you got anything that you can think of. But like, I will say that, you know, everything said and done, our total cost to get like a really affordable mortgage for us, you know, rent where we're at right now was about to go up to $1,800 plus, you know, your utilities and stuff, your cable for, well, not cable, but internet. So we were looking at like $1,900 to $2,000 for a 900 square foot apartment. Rent money is not an investment. Rent money gets thrown away. So for me, I was like, the deal's got to be better for us financially as an investment than what we could be paying on rent. And after shopping around, you know, it was essentially, we got a really good, we paid down the interest rate for the mortgage. We had the closer put $10,000 to buy the rate down. We bought it down with another $8,000. And total closing cost for us was $18,000 and change. And that got us a rate of like 5.3, which is stellar right now.
Good right now, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we probably won't see general availability of that rate without buying it down to that for years.
Right.
You know, you're talking 3 years out probably right now with the current market and the current financial economic issues. And so we're sitting at a $2,900 total HOA, taxes, mortgage insurance, home insurance, and principal and interest. And so with utilities, internet, all that stuff, we're looking at just a little over $3,000 a month.
Right.
For a 2,500 square foot high cost of living area. Right. Which is really good. Like most places you look online, especially when you're looking at them like Zillow, Redfin, and they quote you like, you know, what you might be looking at monthly is like 36 to 4,000. You know, and so and that's before your utilities, before your mortgage interest, stuff like that. So, feels good. You know, it feels like that's definitely within our budget. You know, if one of us lost our jobs, like we could still pay that each month. We'd be pinching. But we could still pay that each month. So,
and I think that's a super important point you just made, which was, as we enter the Dave Ramsey part of the show, where is living off of one income, the ability to, right? You don't have to, but like the fact that like, I think so many people go out there and overextend themselves in this place where it's like both parties have to work and be making like a decent income to afford just their house. And then I feel like lots of people aren't even thinking about the fact that if they want to work or not, which maybe they should, but also they aren't even thinking about the fact of like if they lost their job, if they didn't have that income. So meaning like they'd be like, they're only lots of times people are only thinking like, oh, no, I want to have a job, we'll be fine. Versus like, wait, what if like I don't have a job? And that can happen. Like, especially like the larger the company you work for, or also the smaller too, depending on like what it is. Like you could walk in one day and they're like,
we're letting you go.
If it's a huge company, they're like, your department has been deleted. You're like the whole thing. They're like, yeah. You're like, so I don't have a job. And they're like, yeah. You're like, okay, great. like, what the hell do I do? Also, like in a small company too, the small company can be like, we're done.
Yeah,
Like,
the company's
and then,
gone.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
what do you mean? I'm like, we're done. Like the whole thing. They're like, so like, to their boss, like, so you don't have a job either? And he's like, nope. Like, all right. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Right. So, it just like those things can happen. So, living within your means is so important, being content within that too. But then also it sounds like, a relatively like the numbers you're throwing out there too for people's benefit, is like, it's attainable. You can get there. You can get into place. And like you did, I bet you did, like, I feel like you're a pretty like data driven person.
Oh, it's my job. Sir.
Right. So like, do you like when you purchase something, you think through the ramifications of that in the budget?
Yeah. Like I've done the budget. So if we pay right now,
so I'm even talking about like, just like if you go out to Chipotle.
Oh, not that much. Like, I mean, I have a.
I'm not calling you a penny pincher,
No,
but
no,
I mean, like,
yeah,
meaning you're thinking about it.
Yeah, I will say that like I have a very strong average of expenditure each month that I understand we can operate in comfortably, and I know like what we can kind of do and fit into that, and so like I'm not thinking like, okay, budgeting for us to go out to dinner tonight, or budget, like I need a budget and plan and foresee like what it's going to cost for us to like treat, the parents to dinner or something. I just kind of have a general idea of like, I know what the cost of this is probably going to be this evening. I know how that fits into our monthly budget, things like that. So yeah, I mean, I am very data driven. I did like the stuff where I essentially just put out like our income and how much of that we could save each month towards the house. And we've been doing that for like over a year now. And we were saving 30% from each paycheck to go right into saving for a house.
Nice.
And that's including like post investments to your retirement, post, healthcare costs, whatever. Right.
Right.
And so that really helped me understand like what we could afford. The biggest thing though is honestly, like, I think the biggest thing that people just don't understand when it comes to buying a house is just shopping around for mortgage, like rate. And, we're not sponsored or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we did ours through Better Mortgage and they made it super easy. Ally is also like their baby parent company. I don't know. I think Better owns Ally. But you just can answer their questions of like what your income and all that stuff is, upload your like a statement of your income, and then they just have a PDF document of pre-approval with the rate you select and what you're looking to either buy it down to or not. And so like you can just adjust that on the fly to like where you're looking at like financially. And so like I knew with that, like, okay, now, yeah, rates do change over time. But I knew like, this is the down payment is going to cost to get this rate, which will give us this monthly cost. And now I'm going to look for houses that are within that budget or below it.
Right.
And that's another big thing, dude. I've met so many people who just aren't willing to look at houses below.
Right.
They're like, no, I need this. It needs to be this. I'm just like, okay, it doesn't though. Your first house, this is my mentality too. We bought a townhome. A big reason we bought a townhome is plan is to rent it out one day. The plan is this not be our forever home. This might be our first home we're in until kiddos are going to school.
Right.
And then we might like, hopefully we're financially at a point where we can buy a house with, a little bit of land on it and like have that like independent ownership, no HOA or whatever. Right.
Right.
And we can rent this thing out.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I see are in this trap of like the first home they're going to buy. They've never owned a home before, or maybe they owned an apartment, but now they want to buy a house and they're like, I got it. This has to be it. I need to find the house I'm living in for the rest of my life. Right. I was like, okay, like you're looking at something super expensive in a lot of markets.
Yeah. And those are good words. Like, one thing you're saying was, shopping around to find your mortgage. Cause Israel, if you're the guy who's like, kind of like knowing, like, if you're in the back of your mind, like you're thinking about like the impact on the budget. I'm the magic plastic card guy. I'm like, where does this come from? Nowhere. It's just the magic plastic card. You just tap it. It's gotten so you don't even have to swipe it anymore.
Yeah.
You don't even have to put it in. Now you just tap it. It's like, deet, got it for whatever it is. And it's funny, if I buy a stick of gum, what do I have to do? Boop, tap it. If I buy something for $5,000, what do I have to do? Tap it. Boop. Yep. Same. It's like, to me, it's like the same amount of money just left, but it's not the same amount of money. And then it's like same to over like I'm also the one and done guy, which would be like Google, like I'd Google like mortgage. That's all I'd write. I'd Google mortgage. Whoever's paying the most for ads, click on it. And I'm a little exaggerating here, but click on it, like fill out the form and just be like approved. And you're like, all right, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
And then so so it's good to have like your live within your means in mind, as well as like shop around for the right thing. And then the other thing, which I'm actually more aligned with you on, would be like you don't have to go like at that limit or above necessarily, is like for the house. I had a friend once who they were strapped for cash so bad, and they were looking to rent a house, and they found this spot that would have been a great house for them, a rental, not a purchase. But the cabinets in the kitchen were from the 80s.
Oh my God. Who cares?
And she said, I will not live in a house like this.
Oh my gosh.
And they didn't rent it. And
even though it met every other need.
Yeah. Beyond.
Exceeded.
And when we're talking needs too, like back to the hierarchy of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like we got to get back to that as individuals, especially as Americans, Westerners, and then as just individuals, like what do you actually need? And like you can live with like, okay, if the carpet is like stained and stinks and like is disgusting, like, yeah, that's got to get torn out and redone.
That's a health thing, you know?
And like, but if it's a color you don't like, if the carpet's a color you don't like, you'll be fine. Yeah. Like somebody can fix it. And so like, if the backsplash, the kitchen might even have a backsplash, but it doesn't go all the way to the ceiling, shut the hell up. You're 27. Maybe when you're 50, you can get a backsplash goes all the way up to the ceiling, like,
sure.
And so like there's these things like we get in our mind that we just need. By the way, a backsplash to go all the way up to the ceiling. If your husband's worth a dang, he could do that in one day. Or if he has a friend who's worth a dang, you do it in one day. Like, like just like, it's not like, don't pay $60,000 more for a house because it has the backsplash or the gray floor. Then, for whatever reason, what's in right now is the gray floor. The fake gray floor. Yeah. That's what you need. Fake gray floor, white tile backsplash. And so what I'm getting at is like, for some reason, like people would go spend an extra 150, 200K on a house just because they feel aesthetics. And they'd be like, oh, that's so kitschy. Like, I can't do golden oak. Golden oak's so 90s. Golden oak's so 90s. Okay. Listen, does it hold your plates? And then, yes. Okay, by the way, the baseboard is stained a color you don't like. Do you even know what a baseboard's purpose is for? No, you don't. So it's like, just stop. Like just stop. Like, so it's like, with that also, what I said before is all these 27-year-olds want to live like 50-year-olds. It's like, we all want to, and I'm guilty of this too, where it's like, yeah, I want to own, like, at the moment, I wish I owned 2 businesses and had a 3rd rental house, and I wish I vacationed in Europe every year. Yeah. And for some reason, part of me does feel like I do deserve that at the moment, right? Like there's a thing in me that's like, that's how my life's supposed to be. Also, no, it's not supposed to be like that. Like you are starting a family, you're getting your feet underneath you, like it's stop scrolling on, especially like, oh my God, like the certain people's Instagram like algorithm. Mine and your like YouTube algorithm is pretty much the same. In line. Yeah. But it's like I feel like lots of my buddies' wives and my wife's like Instagram algorithm is like so many Pinteresty houses of perfect Mormon wives. Yeah, it is. Dude, the Mormon church has invested so much into social media. And listen, all those ladies' husbands are dentists. Sorry, we're not going to buy you a house that's 1.5 million yet.
Yep.
Okay. But anyways, it's like, so that's the standard. Stops like, and I'm not dogging on the ladies too, like guys too. Like my thing would be like, I should have 5 acres and a tractor and like, you know, in a shop in the side, like, you know, like all that stuff. But it's like, it's all I'm saying is it's okay to have cabinets from the 80s. And someday you could fix them.
For sure. Yeah, no, and like that's what I mean. Like you gotta concede on things. Like I think, you know, the conceding thing, a big one for me was just like conceding like the idea of like first time house is gonna have a yard, right? Like there's so many houses that we saw that are like new builds, and like they're new builds, they're built really fast. There's a lot of sketchiness about them. You don't get a basement, which for where we live is like pretty unusual. I feel like most homes come with a basement. And the build quality is like, everything looks really nice, but like you don't know the longevity of that stuff. And it's sketchy when you find out like, oh yeah, home warranty is 1 year. It's like, okay.
But the loan is 30.
Yeah. Like it seems to me like you don't have that much confidence in the longevity of this stuff. And a big one too is like a lot of them just don't have yards. Like they're in ticky-tacky neighborhoods where like they have a very tiny footprint, so they can squeeze more in. And for me, I just saw that and I was like, okay, here's the truth. And this is goes out to anyone else who's listening who's like, I want to buy a house so bad. I want to be a homeowner. I feel like, or like even to guys, I know single guys who aren't married, they're not dating anyone. They're just single guys who feel like I financially recognize renting is throwing money away. Right. And I want to have a wealthy investment.
That's the one that gets a lot of us, is feeling like you're wasting it.
Yeah. And I'm telling you right now, here's the good news. Boomers are going to die. And boomers currently own still something like, I think it's right now, currently they own 42% of the homes in America.
All right.
And they primarily own homes, not property, is what I'm saying. Like they own homes.
Yeah.
Millennials own, 51% of millennials are homeowners, but a lot of that is like condos, apartments, stuff like that, right? When the boomers die, there are a larger population of them that own homes, real homes, than we do. Someone will need to buy those houses. And the person who will get it is the person who has more liquidity, more cash saved up. And so like, if you feel like that is out of reach, if you feel like the dream home, it's got a yard, it's got trees, it's got a fence, it's got a garage, you know, if you feel like that is out of reach, it is not out of reach forever. You just need to save money and be patient and have open hands, because and I say this as like, I love my grandfather. I love my mama. They're technically both baby boomers. But I know just like their circle is shrinking every year because of health, and like people are dying and people are having to sell things, and they're selling their mountain townhouse. They're selling their mountain condo. They're selling their beach house in Florida. They're shrinking, right? Because they don't have the health and ability to go use those things, and they need the money, or they want the money, right? They, you know, so they're selling assets. So just give it time, because we're in the next, people say, if you want to look it up, look at the America in 2030.
For the next 5 to 10 years.
If you just Google America in 2030, you'll see all this doom and gloom stuff about like essentially the population crisis, too many like boomers and older Gen Xers, and not enough of us to support them financially. It is going to be a painful burden on taxes and finances to support an older, larger population, but they will die. And then what happens is there's going to be a vacuum in an insane transfer of wealth and material assets. And when that happens is when you want to have the cash. And if you're like, I need that house, dude, that will be the time.
Yeah.
Now I'm talking like 2030 to 2040 is a time when most people right now who are 25 to 35 are going to become insanely wealthy.
Yeah.
In between 2035 and 2040.
And the other thing to think about, if you're savvy, is business ownership.
Yep.
Because
which, hey man, I don't know diddly about.
Right, because in the same sense that they're like, I would bet that the percentage of business ownership is pretty similar to
like boomer to millennial.
Millennial. Now, if you're doing a actual like business to business ratio, that would be way skewed, because like I've done like 7 businesses, but like 6 of those have made like $0, right? So like,
yeah,
right, right, and so, but and meaning how everybody, lots of people right now are starting their own little thing, but if you're doing like a cash value, or like, you know, like the value of the market of what businesses are making money, it's the boomers own those. And so then also, like, here's the deal, young guy, save your money, buy a house, and then buy another house, buy a service business, buy a restaurant, buy another service business. Like, you'll be able to do all that if you play the game right, and just like hit it right and shop well. Like, those things are becoming available.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think, like, from what I understand about business stuff too, is like, it's just like buying a house. Like, you don't need to buy it all at once.
Yeah.
Like,
it's buying businesses can be cheaper than buying houses.
For sure. And usually you don't have to get like mortgage insurance. You don't pay an HOA. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. All that said though, I get like, that's kind of like where I'm at. And like, my mentality is like, we just need to get our foot in the door into owning something, stop throwing money away on rent. You know, don't just leave cash sitting in the bank. You know, save up cash so that way you can put it in an easily liquidated investment, whether that's just like buying S&P 500 stock, like buy the SPY.
I'm like, don't put it in the bank. Put it in straight cash in your safe, or make it an asset.
I mean, yeah, always convert cash to assets. That's my argument. Never let it just sit, because our inflation is so bad right now that it's not, your cash is never going to be worth more tomorrow. And especially with inflation, here's the cool thing too about it is like, I've bought my home now. I have, you know, I don't know, just like X amount left on the mortgage to pay off. Right. Inflation makes it cheaper. Like, inflation lowers debt. So the sooner you can get that debt that you can afford to pay monthly, the better, because inflation, like, debt doesn't increase with inflation over time. As long as you're making your payments, you're going to be like, your capital to make that payment will increase over time due to inflation. And so, that's kind of my mentality about it, is like, get your foot in the door as soon as you can on something you can afford. If you're a single dude, there's no reason you should be renting, in my opinion. Like, with the ability to, single dude or single lady, I think more single women should just buy an apartment. Like, do what you can to just get something now that you can come to own one day and rent out, or, you know, leveraged for a larger loan to buy a home. You know what I mean?
Right.
Stuff like that. So that way you're not throwing that rent money away, and your money's going into an investment, building liquidity. And, you know, that's kind of like the idea for it. So all I said though, I mean, I've been a homeowner for a couple weeks.
You did it though.
Yeah.
You did it.
Feels good, man. It feels good. It is weird though. And it is so stressful, dude.
And now if you need a new roof, that's on you.
Actually, it's not.
Actually, not. Yeah, because where you buy. But if you need a new water heater,
that is on
me. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like,
Yeah. No, I feel good. Our water heater is good. The one thing I was researching the other day, AC units.
Yeah.
They don't make them like they used to.
Nope.
The HVAC community unanimously is in agreement that the days of 30-year-old like AC units are long gone. Like, if a unit manufactured in the last 10 years, that's a damn good unit, because they've engineered them to fail after like 10 to 15 years.
Oh yeah. And the furnaces and all this stuff. I had a HVAC guy come do a quote on a house for me the other day, and they're just like, the furnace had only been in there for like 5 years, and he's like, and we were just trying to get some stuff fixed up, and he was like, we were trying to get new ducting ran, and he's like, I can't even run new ducts on this. Like, you got to get a whole new system. It's going to be $30,000.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, he's like, none of this is to code. I was like, dude, shut the hell up. Like, we didn't hire him, by the way. But
Yeah.
it's like, oh my gosh.
That was for a house that you were working on or what?
I was working on the house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's just like anyways, the HVAC stuff, it's rowdy.
Oh yeah.
Make it last.
Yep. Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm a big believer in like someone's got to come on eventually to upset it and just make great aftermarket parts to replace them all. But it's just like anything else right now, like so much regulation and stuff.
For sure. One of my dreams, it's a horrible dream, is to make appliances that last 60 to 80 years. But I'd go out of business so fast. But
who knows, man?
You know what I mean? Like
here's the thing. As long as you keep it private,
yep.
You have the business live and supply until you're dead.
Yep.
Then it doesn't matter anymore. But it's like one of those things of like, oh, no one's buying any more new toasters because this toaster lasts 50, 60 years.
Yep.
It's like, well, that business is going to go out of business. Like the dude who created that made his, 10 mil and died. Like it doesn't matter if it goes out of business.
Yeah, that's true. I think it'd be great just to come out with like, this refrigerator will outlive you. It does cost $5,000, which is a lot, but you'll spend 20 on refrigerators in your lifetime at the rate you're going.
Yeah, exactly. Last thing here, just for all those out there who are
speaking of life expectancies,
those of you out there who are Zen enjoyers, nicotine pouch enjoyers,
heathens.
I've just all the talk about Zen being out unavailable and all that. I just wanted to speak some truth to the rumors and give some options out here for our homies who are struggling.
Because what are these rumors?
Well, the rumors were that like Zen was gonna get banned, like Juul pods were, and that Zen was like the manufacturing plant caught on fire and burnt down, and so that's why there's the shortage. All this stuff. But one thing that came up in this was like some dude just being like, yeah, Zen is they're referring to it as the gas station Ozempic because it reduces appetite and people are just zenning so they don't eat and lose weight. And I'm like, man, where's the Zen at?
Yeah.
Tell me about this Zen that will also work as a weight loss supplement.
Yeah.
Because, I Zen regularly. I don't think I've lost weight from zenning.
No. I eat to Zen sometimes. Okay, so back in the day, there'd always be like, as a child of the 90s, I remember smoking sections and people outside smoking. People would be like, after a meal, enjoying a cigarette. I'm like, that's disgusting. What's wrong with you? And then I found, for whatever reason, after a meal, a little bit of nicotine is one of the best things in the world. And
I just don't agree, bro. It makes my stomach so upset.
Really,
if I've eaten a full meal.
It's the thing for me. And so sometimes I'm like, if I want to enjoy a good Zen, I'll go have a fourth meal. It's 8:30, 9:30 at night. I'm gonna warm up some leftovers and I'm gonna eat them.
Yeah, that is bad eating habits, bro.
That's what I'm saying is I'm gonna eat those leftovers and I'm gonna throw in a nice Zen. So it's not working for me either as far as weight loss goes.
My ritual is right before, I know I've said it before, but like literally like I will kiss my wife goodnight, tell Billie Jean I love her, and I say, I'm going to go have a Zen. I just walk to the bathroom and I just throw 3. Hey man, if I'm feeling good, if I hadn't had any Zen that day, throw 4 pouches.
Oh man.
Just 2 up top, 2 on the bottom. It just continually moving them around with my tongue. And I just sit and take a dookie. And after that dookie's done, go to bed. That's how I catch up on my YouTubes. That is like my most like consistent, like, dude, literally the other night when we were last night in the apartment, last night we were sleeping there before we moved everything out. I was like 3 Zens on, taking a Duke, and I hear this like pop bang sound coming out from like somewhere in my apartment complex. I can hear it because the bathroom is right against the like outside walls to the stairway. I can hear people running down the stairs real fast, and I was like, you guys know when you have enough Zen, like you get the sleepies.
Yeah.
And you're like a little like everything's sluggish. And I was like,
mid loaf.
Yeah, I was like, all right, I have to pinch that off because what if that was a gunshot? And I literally like pinched it off, did a wipe, pulled up, walked out, went to grab my gun, and like, because I'd already taken my gun off, and then I told him, I asked Billie Jean, I was like, you hear that bang? And she's like brushing her teeth. She's like, yeah. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna go look real quick. And like, I went out, look, nothing going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, close the door, go back, put the gun away, go back, resume deuce. And like, it was one of those things though where I was like, reaction time is definitely slower, you know, when you're zenning. But it's a, you know, it don't come into my home, man. Just, like, I'm telling this right now, you know, you guys are listening. You might think like, all right, that's how we'll get Mick. We'll catch him off guard at night when he's zenning.
9:30.
Yeah, no, you won't, son. I'm still able. I'm on the edge, ready to respond, baby.
All right. So what was this garbage doctor doing?
Yeah, dude, this health expert on Fox is like, it's, you know, a weight loss thing. And like, by the time I'm down to reading the end of the article, he's running his own health like clinic that is designed around real quote weight loss treatments in his own proprietary weight loss product called Liquid Vita. He's like, you should do this. It's way healthier for you. It doesn't have any of the side effects of nicotine. I'm like, it's goop in a bottle, bro. Like, that is supposed to make there is no weight loss supplement that's not goop.
Yeah, and so the guy who was standing to profit by...
He was standing to profit while dunking on Zenners.
Huh.
Anyways, I thought that was interesting. Rumors of the fire at a Zen factory. So for those who don't know, Zen was originally created by a Swedish manufacturer. The Swedes love snuff, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Sweden is like the #1 producer of snuff.
They invented it.
And did they?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know they invented it.
Mm-hmm.
Mad respect.
That's why they have like no smoking now. They like,
I believe it.
It was part of like snuff was a part of like, they like don't smoke, they just snuff it up.
Yeah, people told me, like, I was reading stuff on Reddit and people were like, yeah, everyone in Sweden, babies got Zen in their mouth.
And lung cancer rates went plummeted.
Oh yeah. But anyways, so there was a fire at this factory. And just so you guys know, the Swedish company that makes Zen was bought out by the company that makes all the cigarettes. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. It's like P something.
And the big one.
Yeah. The Marlboro company.
Yeah.
But they have a factory in Sweden that did catch on fire, but it didn't burn down or anything like that.
Can you get high from Zen fumes?
I don't think so.
Try to smoke a little Zen powder.
Here's the thing that most people don't know. I realize this. For a lot of these pouches, it's salt infused with the nicotine, but that is coated on. It's like what's in the pouches is paper. And they call it wood mulch or wood something. And so the pouches just have essentially fine powderized paper in them that like hold the nicotine and salt on it. And so that's how you can like kind of, I mean, honestly, if you have a Zen pouch in for a while, it kind of does feel like you got just paper that went soft in your mouth. Right. But I imagine a factory with all that powderized paper can light up pretty quick. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, sounds to me like it's a recipe for a fire.
My God, Zins.
Yeah. But anyways, so that one didn't burn down. But here's the good news. There's a factory in good old Lexington, Kentucky. And that is the producer of all the Zen in America. And the reason someone from there posted on Reddit, they work there. They said, guys, Kentucky, Lexington factory's fine. The supplier of the cans and lids had an issue and can't meet the demand. And that's why there's the shortage, which makes sense because I noticed a couple other similar cans of similar sizes have gone out of stock. My usual go-to substitutes for Zen are running low as well. And so they expect the resupply to be completed by the end of the year.
That is too long.
I know. But in the meantime, we have our opinions on some subbies here. Some subs for our listeners to, Zen to. Dude, Sesh is great. I bought 3 cans of Sesh, different flavors, big, like fat, like I'm talking like 1.5 inch long pouches.
It's like a full horseshoe.
Yeah. And like they were like 9 milligrams and they were awesome. They had such good flavor. And I didn't notice a difference between like their effectiveness versus Zen. But I also noticed that they were out of stock immediately when I went to go buy some more. Like I had them for like 1 week and then they were gone. So I genuinely think like if Sesh comes into stock though again,
Mhm.
and they're more available, I might switch to Sesh.
Oh wow.
That's how good it was.
All right.
Velo, what's your opinion, man? You've had some Velo. I just tried one now. Kind of tastes like medicine.
It's a Velo to me is, we're gonna talk about the other one later on. It's like a little bit better than On, and it's just it's better than nothing, but it's not what I want.
Yeah, I wonder like the effectiveness of it too.
It does taste like medicine.
It definitely has a medicine
which
taste.
is kind of like freaks me out. You know, because I trust Zen and what they're putting in it. Maybe I shouldn't.
You trust the Swedes?
I do. I trust the Swedes. These other people, I don't trust them.
Yeah, dude. I will say like Velo seems nice, but Velo does come off as like the more fancy Chinese brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Rogue. I think Rogue has a good taste. I've seen that they've upped their they're usually pretty cheap. They're trying to always look like tobacco cans, right? Like the style and the embossed lettering on them. I think they taste good, but they're weak as hell, bro. I bought their, I think it was their 9 or 8 milligram pouches, and I threw 3 in, and I was like, man, dude, maybe my tolerance has just gone up a lot. Next day, I threw in 3 Zen pouches of 6 milligram. Floored me, bro. Floored me like I was an amateur rookie.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted to lay down on the floor. And I was like, okay, so clearly there's a chemical difference in how receptive they are. So the Rogue ones, I think, are just weaker. They advertise as like 6 milligram, 8 milligram, whatever. I don't think that's what you're getting out of them like you would from a Zen. So I've been having to do 4 pouches just to get my normal fix that I would get from like 2 pouches of Zen.
That's extra expensive.
But there's more pouches in a can, and each can of Rogue is cheaper, so it kind of like balances out.
Balances out there.
And then On is just like, On to me feels, I don't know, feels like it's pretty sketch. Like
On burns holes in my mouth.
Yeah, same. On is like
makes
so
a scab
acidic
in my mouth, which is like that.
Not a scab, not a real scab.
No, for real, me, it does.
Oh, you got a scab in your mouth?
I get a scab in my mouth from On.
That's
and so
disgusting.
So I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah. Respect. Yeah.
Like,
you know when to call it quits.
Yeah. Well, yeah, after I moved to the other side till it happened again, like an idiot.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, yeah. On is like, they're tiny. They're like
cheap.
They're cheap. You get a lot of pouches to a can, but it does burn. And I've noticed like the axis of like having a good time to I need to go to the bathroom to throw up is so much less predictable with Ons. There's been times where I throw in like 3 8 milligram pouches of Ons, and then I'm like, I'm feeling good, and then like sip of water, I'm like, nope, not feeling good. Everything is not okay. Everything is I'm about to poop and throw up, and it's
not worth the savings.
Yeah, I just don't think On's worth it. If it's the only thing you could get to hold you over, all right, I understand.
And here's one I haven't tried. I thought about giving a shot on is the Black Buffalo.
Never even heard of it.
Really? So Black Buffalo is more like traditional dip, but it's not. And it comes in long cut or in pouch form. So if you are like a old school dipper, then the Black Buffalo can be like the closest to the real deal. But there's no, whatever they say, no additives, no tobacco, no carcinogens, all that stuff. So it's kind of like something else that's plant-based. So you get that same feeling, but with basically the nicotine salts added in. And so I've thought about, I don't know, maybe that if Zen goes down and you can't find anywhere, that might be the way to go. The Black Buffalo.
Yeah, let me know, man.
So I have to give it a shot. One time I had these pouches. They were these Arab dip pouches because I was hurting. I was out in the Middle East and there was nothing to be found besides cigarettes. And I'll tell you what.
You didn't want some Turkish cloves?
It wasn't good.
They weren't good?
It wasn't good, whatever they had out there.
Damn.
It was the only like gas station type spot that had chew in the whole country. So I bought it. Wasn't good. So
yeah, I imagine it's pretty unregulated out there.
That's the other thing too. Yeah, it's like there's no rules. But anyways, hopefully Zen gets their cans. I think that they should go for the Ziploc baggie method because
Dude, yeah, that was a comment. Like someone responded to the dude from the Kentucky. He's like, yeah, I work here. Here's the real issue. Someone was like, cans, lids, shit, dog. Just start peddling them in dime bags, bro. It's like, yeah, I guess that. No, I'm
looking like what if you made a reusable pouch that you could market for the
how
extreme?
Would that work?
I don't know.
You can't a reusable pouch.
Yeah, so people have these baggies full of powder.
Quickly turning to cocaine.
I know,
this is becoming
so
cocaine adjacent.
People have these little baggies full of powder, and they're trying to pour it in, and they're just jonesing for it. That's rowdy.
People would not pour the powder into the pouches. They're just gonna snort it, bro.
I know they go out of hand. There's no problem. We all have our own cans. Just give us the pouches. We'll put them back in there ourselves. Figure it out, marketing team.
That's funny.
Oh,
alrighty. Well, hey, dude, that was a long episode, but we had a lot to catch up on. You know, a lot of life stuff and news that we wanted to go over. But thanks for joining us, Ken. Again, you know, don't forget to check out our sponsors. You can always go to the mickandpatshow.com to get convenient links to those sponsors, or convenient links to the products we recommend on Amazon. And a little bit of it goes back into our pockets to help support the show. But we appreciate you, Ken. Thanks for listening. Pat, anything?
Till next time. Thanks for tuning in. If you love this episode, drop us a review. If you have qualms or comments, leave us a voicemail on our website. While you're there, check out our latest news, merch, and deals from our sponsors. Till next time, Ken.